When talent meets talent, the talent is not enough. Habit overpowers conscious thought. In African proverb, isiqhelo siyayohlula ingqondo. A Xhosa proverb, to be specific. When talent meets talent, talent is not enough. What does that mean exactly? It means that when you get to a certain level, whatever advantages you may have previously had, you will find that the people at this level also share those advantages. When you get to that level where your advantages are just expected and the norm and the basic standard, the minimum requirement to enter are your previous advantages. When that happens, then talent is no longer enough. And so, not to be cliche, but you're gonna have to outwork those people in order to get to the next level, and you're gonna have to outgrind them. And then that's when people who usually are quite talented run into issues. When you come into a situation as someone who has constantly had to work their way into position, then you are at an advantage, so to speak, because you don't expect your talent to do any of the heavy lifting. And whatever natural gifts you may have, you appreciate, you acknowledge, but you do not depend upon. They are not the only leg that you stand on. They certainly are a leg that you stand on, and it's something that you can't be naive of. But at the same time, while acknowledging this, it is very important to be able to look on the other side of things and realize that there is more to you than those natural gifts. Hence, you're here. And so, when talent meets talent, the previously overly talented, now being at a level where that level of talent is the standard, will not know what it means to work and what it means to put yourself in a position to win among people more talented than you. Whereas if you're coming in constantly as the person who is the less talented, or you perceive yourself, because perspective drives performance at the end of the day. And so if in your own mind, it goes back to the thing that I had said at some point in time, which is the person who will do the most is the person who believes that they have the most to learn, is the person who believes that they have the most potential to unlock yet still. Meaning, the most successful person in the room could still be the person that believes that they have the most potential to unlock still, and that will drive them towards more phenomenal success. The most unsuccessful person in the room could not believe that there's an incredible amount of potential. And so, even though realistically the gap between them and the person in front of them showing them what is possible may be a certain distance, there may be a larger distance to where he thinks he could possibly get and where the person who's already doing incredibly well can possibly get. And hence, people with these things um, will tend to outperform people who lack them. What are the things that I mentioned? Well, that second part, which is habit. Habit overpowers conscious thought. It's clearly said, meaning if you want to become successful, you must develop success habits. What do those mean exactly? Well, I actually have never read the book Atomic Habits. I did buy it for a friend. Anyway, what I mean by develop successful habits is not necessarily whatever habits of success may have been listed. You know, make your bed, brush your teeth, whatever. I don't know. I don't know what's in the book or in any book. But what I find is thinking about it doesn't do it, talking about it doesn't doing it, only doing it does it. And so whatever rituals or rain dances you may have before the work, those are not the habit. The work is the habit. Being able to confront the work is the habit. Being able to push through lulls, because you'll find that you do have periods of productive work and then you feel that you need a break. But the more you can get your head to snap back and snap back into that work mode, you'll find that you'll find flow once more when you're already in it, you know. And that's something that is a skill that can be worked on, right? Which is that muscle that doesn't recognize fatigue as a limiting factor, but rather as a passing phase. It may last 1 minute or five or even 10. But at the end of that, you may be locked in for 4 more hours. And that's 4 more hours of productive work where you found your groove and your rhythm once more that could have otherwise gone to waste because you hit 5 minutes where you weren't feeling yourself and you chose to give it up. You said, I'm taking the rest of the day off, you know? And so that's a habit. And what you'll find is that that habit over time may overpower your conscious thought that is, oh, I'm going to take a break at 9 o'clock. I'm starting to study at 8. At about 9 o'clock, I'm going to take a break. When you've developed the habit that is you push through lulls, and when you find your rhythm and flow, you stick. You push until you find it. When you find it, you stick. So what you'll find is that you'll push, push, push. You'll find it. Say you find it at 10 to 9. You see the time and you're like, oh, but this rhythm feels so good. Oh, look what just happened. Now, instead of being locked in for 30, you were locked in for 100 and something minutes. And so that is the position from which people who were previously disadvantaged in terms of talent become at an advantage because they have honed skills that a talented person never had to hone because they could lean on them having the cognitive understanding. And so this is something that I find very interesting. As we go out into this world and as we begin to compete with different people from different creeds, different backgrounds, what I find for myself personally is I'll say something like, "Oh no, this is something that is understandable. I have the computing power to understand this, but I also am conscious of the fact that I don't understand it now." And people won't make sense of that. Like, what do you mean? Is it you know the person who's presenting it? Is that the problem? Is it yeah? Is it a source of information? Is it quality of? I'm like, no, it's just me spending time with it because that's the habit. That's what I've taught myself. I haven't taught myself to meet resistance, not understand the topic, and then immediately want to shift on to the next thing, want to move on, want to run away from it. I've learned to confront things, and I've also learned to understand that whenever you are not understanding something, it is not because you are incapable of understanding it, but it's because you have not spent enough time with the topic to understand it. Simply when we talk about talent, all we're talking about, in my mind, I'm a big believer in nurture more than I'm a believer in nature, although I am not naive to the realities of nature, right? In nature, realistically speaking, there are people who are more predisposed to do certain things than do certain other things, be it because of ancestral lineage, be it because of the practices that they have started from a young age, whatever the case is. I believe that everything is a skill and everything is repetition over time. Repetition, desire, improvement over time. If you have more repetitions, you have more desire, and you improve more with every repetition, then you can beat anyone at anything. But the important thing, again, is that desire. If you don't desire to, if they desire it more, then they're just going to do it more because they want to do it more. If you want to do it more, then you will do it more. And if you improve every time you do it and you're doing it more, lo and behold, over time. And so anything that I want for myself, that I see someone that is better than me at that thing, two things. Number one, I already assume that you must have had some sort of previous exposure that I did not have, and you've literally had more time under the bar. If we were to speak about in bodybuilding terms, the main difference between a novice, a newbie, and someone who's a lot more seasoned, a lot more experienced, say someone who came in this year, could be the most talented guy in the world, versus someone who is 10, 15 years into their bodybuilding career. One main difference you'll find is the quality of the muscle, because the damages of the seasoned professional have, or the microfibers of the seasoned professional have been damaged so many times, that the tiniest of fiber is now dense, whereas you'll find a much softer version of this guy in the newbie. Even if their talent levels are exactly the same, or he's even extremely talented, you'll find that this guy can't beat this guy, not because he's not inherently better, but he spent more time under the bar. And so we can take that concept of time under the bar and we can spread it across any industry that you would like to, and you'll find that there is such a thing as time under the bar. There are things that you can leave a university with. There are things that you can leave education with. And those things will be some sort of a leg up, even on people who have been in the industry, who are in lower positions, lower rungs, who've not been exposed to the things that you've been exposed to. So never mind just a university. You may come from a good family with a good background in this particular subject, etc. So you've been exposed to certain things that do give you a leg up, they do give you an advantage, and yet you get into the room with a seasoned professional in sales, for example, and you'll find that there are things that you read in that book that you didn't understand, but you thought you understood, or you understood them in concept, but you don't understand them in practice, and how those two things differ. While the seasoned professional knows every single ounce of nuance because they may have not had that education and had to learn it from the ground up. And you have a different understanding and appreciation for a skill when you have had to build it from a place of deficiency. You understand the inner workings of it. You know, myself, being initially exposed this year to accounting, there are people who had backgrounds in accounting, and I'm outperforming them simply because I understood less. The only reason why I'm outperforming them is because I understood less about it. And so I had to learn from it from bare bones, from, hey, they say A, say B, C. Okay, put them literally. I had to learn everything from scratch. And so they had their little tricks and little foster methods and this and that. And they were beating me in the weekly quizzes, they were beating me in whatever. But when it came down to the application of the knowledge, in a much broader fashion and in a much more in-depth fashion, my depth outweighed theirs by a country mile because I don't have shortcuts, or I didn't have. I now understand how to apply a bit of the shortcuts that they came in with, etc. But I know what those shortcuts mean, why they work, when they don't work. I know what the formulas look like in like out of my head, off by heart. I know when you can apply that to something. I know when something is the 100, when it's the 115. Like I know how to derive certain things, rearrange the formulas without even seeing a formula. Just by seeing the number and you telling me that's the inclusive number, I know that, oh, okay, so it's VAT over 115, and that's going to give you like the VAT number, and then you subtract that from that to get the exclusive. I know those things. I can sing those things off by heart. Literally, there's nothing in front of me that's just coming out of my head. But that's because I literally every single time I did those sums before, I wrote it out. I wrote out the formula. I wrote out step one, step two, step three. Okay, boom. So this is equal to this, that's equal to that, that's equal to that. To now, I'm at a point where I don't even have to write out the formulas. I can just write out the numbers. And it wouldn't make sense to someone who is coming in with no foreknowledge. And it sometimes doesn't even make sense how I derived that. But I know how I derived it, and I could derive it because of, we can say, the patterns that I formed. And those patterns are sometimes more powerful than my conscious mind. Meaning, although we talked about habit, let's actually delve deeper into what habits actually are, which is it's just patterns that you develop in your brain, and how many times you travel through those neural networks reinforces the strength of those neural networks. The memory or retention of information is more so about the repetition of recall rather than the repetition of the information itself. And so you could listen to and be exposed to a piece of information 1,000 times and still not be able to recall it. But if you recall it 1,000 times, then you'll be able to sing it off by heart, perhaps for the rest of your life. And so if you want to be successful, You must develop success habits. You must develop success patterns. I'm not going to keep you for too long. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy today's video. So, two things I want you to take away. When talent meets talent, talent's not enough. What does that mean? It means that if you are the talented in this instance, then remember to also put the work in and be working towards the outer limits of your potential. If you're the untalented in this situation, remember to put the work in and work towards the outer limits of your potential. It doesn't change, does it? Kobe said, well, if we win, then I'm gonna get up tomorrow, and I'm gonna get to the grind. If we lose, then I'm gonna get back up tomorrow, and I'm gonna get to the grind. Because at the end of the day, that is what it is. That is the point. The work works on you more than you work on it. So keep working on it, because at the end of the day, you're working on yourself. And so, number one, when time meets talent, talent's not enough. Keep working towards the outer limits of your potential. Number two, habits overpower conscious thought. And so, if you want to be successful, you must develop success habits. Hope you did, in fact, enjoy today's video. Please do hit that subscribe button. Make sure that bell notification is turned on so you don't miss anything. I have been Sage, standing on business. Signing out.